have questions about whether or not this guy was, or these guys were the real deal, that they were conspiring to interrupt an official proceeding, what some people in the media, or what some people just cavalierly put on social media, stop the steal or something to that effect. These guys were attaching violence to it, and you can't do that. You can hold your opinion, and there is process in place, though they disagreed with Mike Pence's opinion of what that process was. You can still have an opinion about it, but once you start breaking windows and storming the Capitol. Now, the other thing too that you just mentioned, Eric, that I find ironic is you and I kind of differ on this Michael Byrd thing. I think that he should have been. I think that he should have been indicted for killing the Air Force veteran. Her name escapes me, but it should be right in the front of my mind. But
I've said 100 times that he should be. Well, okay, yeah. When you look at now when. Right, that was a line you can't cross. Yeah, I still hold to what I originally said, although I do know more about the guy now, and that like nobody in that police department likes him, and that he's a fucking idiot, and that he's
that's kind of
I've talked to several Capitol police.
He's a captain now,
and they've all said that the only reason that dude exists still to this day is because of the color of his skin. Like, he has fucked up. I mean, he left his gun in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Like dude is a phenomenal fuck up. I didn't know that now, but I don't think that you get to know those types of things in court about how phenomenal of a fuck up. I still stand by, though, that like if you are breaking into the White House and you're going to the chamber floor, you're going to the lowest common denominator, which that guy is, and you kind of have to expect that the lowest common denominator could shoot you. So I still stand by the fact that like I in no way should you do something like that and expect that you're not going to get seriously injured by somebody, because you can't expect all of those guys to be like some kind of like SWAT operators that can hold their emotions.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
He's a law enforcement officer, and he's held to the same threat of death or great bodily harm that anybody else is.
The same things that the same way I react to a robbery suspect is going to be completely different than some female fresh out of the academy with no combat experience that only weighs 119 pounds. Her and I are going to deal with that situation completely different.
And he was
one might shoot
lieutenant.
him, and the other one might not shoot him.
Yes,
so
he was a seasoned
what
lieutenant.
I'm saying is when you rob a bank, you're taking the chance. You don't know which one of those cops you're dealing with, so there always has to be an expectation that you might be dealing with a rookie 119
that's completely wrong.
That you can get shot.
There is no expectation of going out to die. There's zero expectation in that. She can have her opinion.
What?
There is no expectation of being killed by police. I don't know where you're getting that from. I don't know what.
Are you telling me right now that if you go and rob a bank, that you couldn't have any expectation of getting killed by the police officers?
You definitely are taking a risk. You're definitely taking a risk, but you don't.
Like, you don't think that would cross your brain that you might get fucking killed by the police when you're doing this?
Yes, that's called taking a risk. That's not expecting to be killed by the police. That's completely different.
Maybe not expecting,
two different things.
You're definitely taking a risk, and the same risk is applied when you're breaking into the White House.
Okay,
frankly, and I've said it before, is like I can't believe that snipers weren't shooting people on the lawn. Like, my expectation would be like.
Let me intentionally interrupt you here. Hang on one second. Let me just get to my point so you can hear what I had to say. What you're saying is that Michael Byrd is fine in doing what he did. He's a police officer, but he somehow has special powers.
No.
And he can shoot this unarmed woman who broke a window when there's people with literal rifles standing behind her that could have done the exact same thing. So he must have seen something they didn't. I don't know what that is. But okay, so you got that. The same Justice Department is going to, it has indicted Brett Hankinson. Brett Hankinson is the guy that shot into the apartment next door to Breonna Taylor's.
Right.
He shot blindly, and they indicted him for it. And he is getting ready to go to trial.
He didn't hit anyone.
Didn't hit anybody. He's getting ready to go to trial, doing the exact same thing. A police officer, he thought he was responding to a threat of deadly force, meaning the threat of death or great bodily harm, because our friend John Mattingly almost died in that instance. If the one guy didn't have a belt because he left his tourniquet in his glove box, if the one guy didn't have a belt, he probably would be dead.
I stand by I still, even though that the guy that shot the girl is a complete moron and he's an idiot and there's no reason he should have a badge or a gun. I'm still under the thing that I don't think he goes to jail or gets arrested for what he was doing because he was put in a situation that he reacted to. There were people on the floor, and the way that he testifies and the fear that he is, I can't judge that. I wouldn't do it myself. I would have handled things completely differently. But I don't think he goes to jail, but I definitely don't think he gets promoted to captain. I definitely don't think he remains a police officer, but I still stand by the point that she wasn't just an unarmed girl that just broke a window. They were trying to move up the stairs and they were trying to move onto the floor where there were still representatives on the floor being escorted out. And those guys were told that this is the last and final stand, which is why they barricaded that area in the way that they did. Now, my point being here is that when you go into something like that, you are taking a huge risk. When you try to drive over a cop for stolen liquor, you're taking a huge risk. And there should be some kind of expectation that you could fucking die doing this.
Okay.
And so what world would possess you to break in the windows, being held by cops? Why are you trying? It's like fucking with a lion. Like, why would you do that? You know that fucking thing. One of those lions is going to bite you. One of those lines is going to tolerate this shit.
Let's take a look at the bullet for a second, though, Eric. And if the bullet missed her neck, and her name is Ashli Babbitt, by the way. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
If the bullet missed her neck and penetrated the face of the cop that was standing behind her, do you still hold the same opinion? Do you still hold the same opinion that, look, he had no other choice, and that cop should expect to be in a deadly situation because he's there in a riot? Like, well, does that make sense?
His tunnel vision, it does make sense, but I would also argue that, and I'm not him, and I can only go off of his testify, but I could imagine that the amount of fear that he had, anytime there's deadly force, tunnel vision's already set in. So he would not have seen that cop or what other people were doing. He was focused on. But the amount of,
if he didn't have that much of a view, Eric, that's the whole point. If he didn't have that much of a view, or if his focus is that narrow, then he didn't have deadly. He didn't. You can only eliminate the threat of death or great bodily harm.
And I'm not sure that was.
If the crowd is the threat, you can't just fire into the crowd. You don't know who's in the crowd.
No, he fired at the one who stuck her hand through the window and was trying to open up the door.
He hit the one who broke the window. You don't know who he was firing at. You don't know who. I mean,
his gun is aimed right at her,
and he will never tell you. Yeah, it was kind of the same direction.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that. I think it's almost like two idiots do something very stupid, and you just kind of like penalties offset. Like, she's being extremely dumb in front of an extremely dumb human being, and dumb shit's always going to happen. I mean, you can disagree all you want. But
I see your point, but I think that's what America hates about cops. That's exactly what America hates about cops, because they're like,
well, it is.
I mean,
and
he just shot and killed her.
Don't commit the fucking crime.
Right, but don't commit the crime, but you also have to hold the cop accountable that just shoots and kills somebody for committing a crime.
Do you do the same thing with the female that we covered last week that ran over the cop? Like, why do we take that cop's side? Like, I know I wouldn't have shot her.
I didn't take the cop's side. I merely presented the facts, and the facts are a jury's going to decide that, because he did put himself in a very precarious spot, and she did.
I still think he's justified in shooting her, though.
Yeah, okay, and she did go out of her way to almost run him over. You know what I mean? Like, there is, and she was stealing. She wasn't taking any. She was in the process of committing a felony, or I can't say that it was.
Well, and so was Ashli Babbitt.
Right, but I don't know that was a death penalty case. I don't know if it's.
I think the only reason it makes it a death penalty case is because they have a duty to protect all of those folks inside the chamber, and
the only way to do that is to fire into a crowd.
And I think that's why it's been covered up. And I've talked to Capitol officers who say the reason why it's covered up is because they know that they kind of told them to do that. They said, this is the final stand. Anybody comes through that.
That doesn't make it right.
I'm not saying it makes it. I'm not saying it makes it right. I'm not saying it makes it right. I don't know that. I don't think that he gets held criminally. I don't think he did anything criminal. I think he fucked up. I don't know that it weighs that he should go to jail for it, though. But I mean, there should be some accountability. Maybe getting fired. Definitely not able to hold a law enforcement thing. But I mean, you again put in a situation that was kind of almost a lose-lose for a guy like that. And the department knew it was a lose-lose. That's why he was there. He was there on punishment because he was no good anywhere else. They never expected them to make it that far into the building. He was literally given the most shittiest job, which was to stand outside that door. No, before the riots, like his job in life, prior to the riots, prior to January 6th, his sole job was to stand in front of a door while they were in session and block that door, even though there was Secret Service between him and also inside that room. So there's really nothing that he does except open the door and close the door. That's how big of an idiot this guy was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was the department's obligation to have let that guy go a long time ago, knowing that he wasn't worth a shit. And every one of his constituents, every one of the other officers that are there say he's not worth a shit. You know
I'm not even counting that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get what you're saying, and I understand all of it, and I've heard the same things. I'm not even counting that, though, in my analysis of whether or not that guy should have been indicted. And by the way, an indictment is not a conviction.
Sure.
It's just a matter of putting it
right,
before
like an
the courts.
investigation to kind of figure out like what exactly happened. And hear his side of the story. Because if he said like "fuck her," she was white and I shot her in the
Under
face,
oath,
then under oath, then it does change the facts and it just change the outcome. But I think like what I've always said, knowing where it is now and not having any testimony, you know, and what I said in that episode, I said, unfortunately, what you had was the two biggest idiots at the protest that just kind of collided together, which is what happens in a lot of these cases. You have two people, at two extremes, and they come into contact with each other, and bad shit happens. Bad shit fucking happens. That's why you don't do it. That's why you don't break into a Capitol building. You wouldn't be serving 22 years in prison. We wouldn't even be talking about this had nobody fucking stormed the Capitol. I mean,
right? But do you think, Eric? Do you think Ashli Babbitt would rather serve 22 years than be shot in the neck and killed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
we agree. We agree then.
Yeah. I mean, I would choose. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would want death over 22 years. I'm not going to prison for anything, but I'm not going to fuck around. I know I'm not made to go to prison, so I'm not going to fuck around because I don't want to find out.